Going to remember to get rid of them. Could somebody else take them and use them who are not supposed to use them? You just put these in here, put a little bit of water in it, shake it once, and you can throw it in the trash. It's deactivated. Everything's taken care of.
Wow.
So those will be given out to. The intent is to have folks that fill prescriptions that are that might be that might be important to make sure don't get in the wrong hands. Would be given one of these free, such that if you don't use the script. Here's a way to get rid of it. So those are the two big things. Another big thing was the cost of health care. It is when you've got a $1,500 to $5,000 deductible every year. That's hard. That's hard. And then the other thing is education. People realize, we want to have a future. We've got to educate our kids. I was 13 years on the school board. I certainly understand.
Yes, you were.
I certainly understand that. I'm a huge proponent.
Actually,
That's
yeah. You're just barely.
I finished like a couple of years ago. It seems like yesterday. It was an enjoyable job, but my kids were out of college. It was time to be done.
So now you're retired military too, and 35 years?
30 years.
30 years.
30 years. Just a shade over. Just a shade over.
Incredible. Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
First of all.
You're welcome. It was important. It was meaningful, and it was fun. I truly enjoyed myself representing and ensuring the safety of citizens of my local community, the state of Vermont, and the United States. Is something that as a young person I wanted to do, and I was able to fulfill that as a lifelong. It was almost a hobby. It really,
well,
the way that I looked at it.
I imagine you can't even count how many you mentored in the military.
That is the job of every military service member. First, train the person behind you, train the person with you, mentor everyone. So it was
so, and with Alan Keyes in the room from VT Digger, I'd say you also had announced that you may not be running for another term.
That is correct. So both of my parents passed away in their 50s. The same year. Mom and dad, dad was 57, mom was 52. And
everybody knew your parents.
Yeah. And at that time, I always said to myself, look, they never got to enjoy themselves in retirement and just do some fun things. They did a few fun things, but really nothing that was really out there. And I always thought to myself, I don't want to follow that. And so I made the decision that Diane and I would make sure that we enjoyed each other in retirement. So we are going to do that.
That's awesome.
So it isn't just the drive down Route 100
No. I like driving, thankfully. It is exactly the same number of miles from my house to Montpelier as it was from my house to where I was based for the last 5 years in the military. To the mile. So the drive is fine. I enjoy driving, thankfully. And,
well, and I want to say something about the Rutland County delegation, Republicans, Democrats alike. You guys work so well together.
Yes, we do.
Always have.
Yes, we do.
It's always been a Rutland first, not the party first. It's always been that way, and it's just one of the things that we are the envy of the state.
You are very correct. Every other county attempts to try to put some type of a caucus. We call ourselves caucus. That's what it is, caucus together, that does the work that we do. I'll give you one example of a bill that we did. We put in a bill regarding making Act 250 just a little bit more user-friendly. We weren't changing anything, just trying to line it up, and Reddick had actually done all the research with the assistance of the chamber and put together this package, and then the entire delegation signed on to it. It was taken up in committee, but because of the Act 250 Commission, they didn't want to do anything with it, but at least it was heard by the committee. And depending upon what the commission does, we may, if the commission doesn't do the things that were in the bill, and the bill, it made common sense, then it'll be put in again.
Now this is a new biennium starting?
Correct.
Yep, so bills all start all over.
Yep, House Bill 1 will come out, whatever that may be.
Okay. And are you going to go in and really tear it up this year because it's your last two, or and is there any chance you'll change your mind?
So as a member, I do not intend to change my mind.
As the second question first.
As a member of the House Appropriations Committee, I don't have a whole lot of free time up there. There are some bills that I have committed to putting in, and I will put them in. If I run across anything else that I feel is very appropriate and necessary for the city of Rutland, I will put those in. Or I'll approach one of the others and say, okay, I can help you with this. You run with it. I'll be right there beside you. I did that with Herb Russell his first year.
All right.
We sat
Herb
together.
was a great representative.
He really was.
He did a good job.
Liked
District
Herb.
5-3.
I liked Herb.
Yeah.
I kind of helped him, and then when he got stuck in committee trying to say something and I knew what he wanted to say, I just jumped in and answered the question. Herb worked well with us, and we worked well with Herb.
Well, speaking about your committee, you're a very influential committee in the State House, which is good to have.
Yeah, we write the budget.
Yeah, appropriations, right?
We write the budget. Yeah. That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
So very important position for Rutland to be represented at the table.
Amazingly
You're vice chair.
Yes, I am. I'm the vice chair of House Appropriations. So we have vice chair in House Appropriations, vice chair in House Transportation, and vice chair in the House Institution and Corrections. So they're the ones that decide what state buildings get purchased, built, fixed up, etc.
Is that Bob Helm?
No, that's Butch Shaw.
Oh, Butch Shaw.
Yeah.
I didn't know his name was Charles. Did you?
Kind of I did. Yes, kind of I did. And then Dave Potter is over in Transportation.
Vice Chair, House Transportation.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have 3 vice chairs up there, and it's really important for the county.
Yeah. Well, and you also come together, when you barbecue for all of the public at Casella Construction every year for Wheels for Warmth, when you're raising money for the emergency fuel fund. And
that is fun. That is a lot of fun. It really is. And it's not just raising money for emergency fuel.
Hundreds of people show up.
And they leave with better tires. I mean, folks that show up, when you look at people and what they may be driving around on and realize that they had 1,000 tires, so that's 250 sets of 4, but probably there was a little mix and match. So 250, 300 people left with better tires for their car at $15 to $20 a tire. Yeah. A tire. Than they would have found anywhere. And then the money goes to help folks who need a little help with their
emergency fuel fund.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a win-win.
Well, the win-win-win is then the free barbecue.
Well, it's true.
Put on by the Rutland County Legislative Delegation.
And I can personally vouch for the tastiness of the hamburgers.
Was that Larry Coopoli? Isn't that Larry Coopoli was flipping those? Or
No, Larry Coopoli just made sure he was in every picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were flipping them then.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I was not. No, I helped people find tires.
I saw Bill Gillum.
It was Butch Shaw who was doing it, and Billy Gillum and Butch Shaw were doing the
yes. Yeah, and Bill Gillum was up this year, Rutland City Alderman, and he was actually helping out. Now, in fairness, he's a real chef.
Yes.
So, you brought in the heavy guns this time when a real chef, and you cooked up a beautiful meal.
Other than burning it so badly that it's inedible, it's a hamburger.
So now tell me, getting back to the campaign for a minute, since you were, going for your last term and, you had a chance to talk to the voters, were you... from a campaign, from an insider perspective, were you concerned at all, or did you have a pretty good feeling while you were out there because you really got an overwhelming number of votes?
Who was it that said run like you're losing until you don't? I don't remember where I heard that, but it stuck in my head, and it's true. So you never know. You never know what is going to concern people. You never know when something may cause someone to look at you a little differently. You just don't know. I had great responses at the doors. I had great conversations with people. I heard an awful lot of issues, and while they all will not develop into bills, there's a couple bills in there. They will all be questioned because that's the one thing about House Appropriations. Every single department in state government comes in to see us.
Got it.
And so I have the ability to ask questions that may or may not be rather uncomfortable, but I can get answers. I've already begun asking questions of one of the departments last week when I was up there. So I will get answers to each of the to the concerns that were asked of me.
Now, did you also get questions that were based more like you were a Rutland City Alderman than a state representative?
Only one, and it had to do with sidewalks.
Okay. All right. Yep. Well, there was a representative, Howard, that put a bill in many years ago for Rutland Town when he was representative to get sidewalks built in Rutland Town. So it isn't beyond the reach.
True.
It didn't pass, but it
Yeah, I was
beyond the
going to
reach.
say, yeah, that's the kind
Steve
of thing
Howard
that,
put that in.
that's the kind of thing that I don't think we would be able to get through up there. So I'm not even convinced I'd want to try.
He sponsored a bill, though.
You
He
know,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you
we don't have-
you
do we have
lose a little
another?
bit of capital in you.
Okay, so real quick, we have another award in here that we want to announce, and I apologize for holding it up for a second and asking all these great questions of Peter, but I'm going to cut to the chase here real quick for a second and get to the House race, because he's actually here in the studio with us. The winner for state representative for Rutland District 5-4 in this district is William Knott, the Democrat, with 785 votes. In this district, beating, in this voting ward, beating Jacqueline Beth Fleck, the Republican, who received 532 votes. So William Knott, 785 votes, Beth Fleck, 532 votes. That's District 5-4.
So why don't we have Bill come
Yep,
up, and then
so
I can go out and pick up my lawn
William's
signs.
here. If he, if he doesn't mind coming on, we'll bring him on now. And
Take care.
Peter, congratulations
Thank you.
again.
Thank you
and
very
thank you for coming on.
See you
We
later.
appreciate it.
Congratulations.
We're doing this on the fly tonight, so William is here and is willing to come on. And so I'm thinking, William, if you're familiar with this vote, is there two voting wards in District 5-4, and or is this the one total?
There's just one.
Just the one? Okay.
5-4.
Well, in that case, congratulations on your
Thank
victory.
you.
Very decisive then. So again, William Knott is here. He's the Democratic winner. It was also a Rutland City alderman for state representative in Rutland District 5-4. And I want to share something with William that my Uncle John, my dad's brother, way back in the 50s, was Rutland City alderman and state representative at the same time.
I'm not going to try that.
And he was back then there was only one ward in the city, basically. They had one state representative for the whole city back then. It was a while ago. And so he actually beat Dan Healy, who was the popular mayor way back in the day, for that state representative seat. So he held both. So congratulations. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump ahead here for a second to tell them about the Senate race, and then I'm going to ask you what you heard on the campaign trail. So, so let's go with the, let's see if we can jump around here. So, here they are. So this is Rutland City District 5-4, Calvary Church. Cheryl Hooker, again, top vote getter, the Democrat, with 663 votes, followed by Brian Collmore, 645 votes. And in third would be Greg Cox with 604 votes, and followed by Jim McNeil with 585 votes, followed by Ed Larson, which would be fifth, with 547 votes, and then Scott Guerin with 394 votes. So the top vote getter in Rutland City District 5-4, Calvary Church, again Cheryl Hooker with 663 votes, followed by Brian B.C. Collmore with 645 votes. Greg Cox, relative newcomer to politics, but not a newcomer to the area by any stretch. Following third, that's that last seat. There's 3 seats available out of these 6 folks running. 604 votes for Greg Cox, 585 for Jim McNeil, and Ed Larson 547, followed by Scott Guerin, the 6th spot, 394 votes. So that's the county Senate vote for, again, District 5-4, Rutland City, which is Calvary Church. And then probate judge, Andrew Costello led with 717 votes, followed by Carl Anderson with 577 votes. So Andrew Costello, 717 votes to Carl Anderson's 577 votes. And I got another district in, so we're going to jump to that, and then I'm going to go back to William. So for a second.
Let me just see here.
American Legion.
Yes, District 5-3. So let's get to the state senator. We have Brian B.C. Collmore leading with 434,
I
followed.
think it was Cheryl Hooker again.
Oh, why do I always skip that? apologize, Cheryl Hooker, 471 votes, followed by Brian B.C. Collmore with 434. Next would be James McNeil with 416, followed by Greg Cox with 405, and then Edward Larson with 393, and Scott Guerin with 272. So again, Cheryl Hooker for the District 5-3 Rutland City with 471. Brian B.C. Collmore with 434. James McNeil with 416. Greg Cox with 405. Ed Larson with 391. And Scott Guerin with 272.
So the trend there you see too, right off the bat, is with Cheryl Hooker leading and Brian Collmore following second, first and second. That third seat is sort of up for grabs, and that goes back and forth between a few of the popular ones, Jim McNeil, Greg Cox, and Ed Larson, for instance. So that one might change throughout the evening, but definitely Cheryl Hooker's bringing in the popular vote, and Brian Collmore, who's the current senator, of course, from Rutland County, with 434 to Cheryl's 471, leading the pack.
We have for state representative Mary Howard running unopposed with 707 votes. Moving on to the probate judge, we have Andrew Sam Costello with 539 votes, Carl C. Anderson with 376. So again, that's Andrew Sam Costello with 539 votes and Carl C. Anderson with 376 votes.
Okay, so what we've got here now is a tally of the 4 wards in the city, and these we did expect to come in first, of course, because it's electronic voting, and the city clerks and assistant ward clerks and so forth do a fantastic job. But if you want, I can jump to the totals for everybody, and we're going to get back to the statewide races in a minute, but I know local folks, right, William, are interested in hearing the tallies for the local races. So let's see. So right now it shows a total, for instance, for the Rutland County probate judge race, it's showing for the 4 wards, total of 2,967 votes for Andrew Costello, 2,967 votes for Andrew Costello. Carl Anderson, 2,405 votes. Carl Anderson, 2,405 votes. So that's for the really hotly contested Rutland County probate judge race. And then I want to go to, we've got the House races. Of course, I mentioned Peter Fagan, the winner there in Rutland City 5-1 with 1,137 votes to Heather Juliuson Stevenson, 652 votes. So Peter Fagan wins that District 5-1 with 1,137 votes. Larry Copley, we mentioned, unopposed, 1,206 votes. Mary Howard, 5-3, unopposed, 707 votes. And then we have William's race right here, William Knott, winning with 785 votes to Beth Fleck's 532 votes. So that's a 60% margin right there for William Knott. And then let me just wrap up with the ward totals for the Senate at this point. It looks like I've got to make sure I get these in the right order. And so, as I indicated before, Cheryl Hooker with 2,771 votes, 19%, 2,771 votes total so far for the 4 wards in the city for Cheryl Hooker. Followed by current Senator Brian Collmore with 2,702 votes. Brian Collmore, 2,702 votes, also 19%. Followed by, just a little bit ahead, James McNeil, with 17% of the vote, but 2,492 votes. Jim McNeil, 2,492 votes. Then Greg Cox, which would be that 4th spot, 2,439 votes, also 17%, but 2,439 votes for Greg Cox. And then Ed Larson with 2,285 votes, 16%. Ed Larson, 2,285 votes. And Scott Guerin last at 1,658 votes, or 12%. So there's the totals for the 4 city wards, and that gives you your bulk votes kind of coming in before all the little towns start trickling in, which William Knott does not have to worry about.
Yes.
So congratulations again
Thank you.
on your victory. It's a pretty 60% of the votes, pretty solid win for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I'd like to ask you the same question I asked Peter Fagan, is that you were out pounding the pavement, and what things were on people's minds, and were you getting both questions for Rutland City Alderman, which you are, and state representative?
Okay. I'm going to do the same thing Peter did, which is not answer your question right away. And I do just want to say first, though, I do want to commend Beth Fleck on running a good race.
Yeah.
I think the voters are well served when a race is contested. I went out, went door to door, engaged with voters. Beth did the exact same thing. I think I'm fortunate in that I've been an alderman for 11 years. I think I had more name recognition to begin with. But for a first-time candidate, she did fantastic.
Yeah.
So I do want to commend her. I do want to thank her for putting herself out there, because it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Those
Agreed.
of us, which is everyone at this table, knows.
Yeah, exactly.
And as far as going door to door, it is a mix, because of course I was running for state office as a sitting alderman, and but the 2 big themes that kept coming back over and over again were taxes, and taxes going up. What can we do to slow the steady increase of taxes, and jobs, and people, especially not talking about necessarily jobs for themselves, although that was certainly an issue, but parents and grandparents talking about their children.
I see.
And this really struck a note with me. I have a son who's a freshman in college, and he is out of state for his college, and I very much hope he comes back, but the job market has to be right. So I heard from a lot of people who were concerned about what can we do to grow jobs, what can we do to make Vermont more business friendly, what can we do to make it easier to build a new building to house a business. So those were, and I certainly heard other things. Sidewalks
jobs
was a close third, but certainly those were the 2 top things.
Huh?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? So I was just going to ask you on the job front, though, too, talking about in your son being in college now and so forth, if you're looking at career-oriented jobs being created, and also the livable wage is an issue that comes up a lot.
And there's 2 issues. One is, I think we have to make certain that we have the jobs for our college graduates. That when someone is leaving college, and usually when kids are graduating today, they have quite a bit of debt. They've got to find a well-paying job as quickly as possible just to survive. We've got to do what we can to grow those jobs in Vermont. But I also think we need to work. We have underserved our kids. We have pushed kids into college who maybe that isn't the right fit for them. We need plumbers. We need welders. We need mechanics. There are many jobs that pay a fantastic wage that have been under promoted and under pushed towards kids who would be a good fit for that. So we need to do what we can to build a job base across the spectrum, so that whether you have a college degree or whether you have service training, you can buy a home and raise a family in Vermont.
Yeah, and to your point too, we're very fortunate here in Rutland. Of course, I don't have to tell you that Stafford Technical Center is a tremendous asset to this region, and probably one of the best, if not the best in the state, in my opinion. So along those trade learning a trade, we're certainly lucky to have that asset right here in our own backyard to be able to train our students that might not be college bound. So you're right on.
We have a fantastic base to build off of with that,
Yeah.
and it's making certain that the kids who would benefit from that are encouraged, not discouraged, to go in that direction.
Now that you are a state representative-elect, have you, and I know you probably didn't want to get ahead of yourself, but you must have some particular interest in what committee you might want to, particularly might catch your interest in Montpelier, like transportation, for instance, or something that you might like over another committee. Is there something you're thinking about?
To be honest with you, I haven't gotten ahead of myself as far as that goes. I've focused on just campaigning and working with that. The very first campaign I ran for Board of Aldermen, I've lost, and ever since then I have just assumed I was going to lose a campaign and worked as hard as possible to change that. I've always tried to view myself as the underdog struggling to break out. So I've really focused all the spare time I had on this campaign, on the ads, on getting my message out, on going door to door. So now is the time, well actually now is the time to catch my breath, but a day or two from now,
Right.
I'll start to really look at that in earnest.
Yeah. And you must agree with my comment earlier, which has been one of the things we're envied, I think, around the state about having a Rutland County, particularly the Rutland County delegation, that regardless of party affiliation, that works so well together.
Yes. And you know, I believe in a lot of ways the current Board of Aldermen is a microcosm for that, because we have people who work in the Republican Party. I was a candidate in the Democratic Party. We have independents, but I really feel this board has worked phenomenally well together for the past couple of years to move Rutland forward. So, you know, I think going up to Montpelier with 2 Republican representatives and 2 Democratic representatives, I feel very comfortable that we'll be working together for Rutland.
Yeah, I have no doubt myself either. And I just want to also, if there's any breaking news to be had tonight, did you say you would not be running for Rutland City Alderman? Or?
I'm actually, not only am I not going to run for re-election to the Board of Aldermen, I plan to step down. I just don't think I can do a good job as a city alderman and as a state rep. State rep is so much time, I would miss months of committee meetings, and I just don't think that would be fair. I don't think it would be fair to the citizens of Rutland to give them short shift as an alderman. And quite frankly, the last aldermanic campaign we had, there were twice the number of candidates for seats. There are people who want this job, and there are people who are ready to work hard for Rutland on the Board of Aldermen. So my plan is, we just received the mayor's budget this past week. Now it's time for the board to review the budget, and the board has to have the budget finished with our process and ready for the voters by December 31st. So my plan is to stay on as an alderman through the budget process, and once that is completed in late December, I will submit my resignation from the Board of Aldermen and prepare myself to be a state rep.
Right, right, and you're going to have to, well, you get through the holidays with the family, and then you get that wonderful drive up Route 100 and 107, but...
Yeah, I'm going to start researching podcasts.
Yes. Well, we're very happy to have William not on the program today. You know, we didn't plan this, so it was very nice of William to stop by and join us for the broadcast, and especially congratulate him on his victory to the Vermont State House of Representatives. So, William, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
I'm totally going to break the camera.
Congratulations.
So, Lisa, did you have a ward in that?
Yeah, we've got
okay, go right
a
ahead.
few here.
Great.
So this is what you just went over.
Okay.
But there. So we have the town of Wells in Rutland Bennington district. We're going to go straight to the state senator seats. So we have Jim McNeil coming in with 224 votes, Edward Larson with 222 votes.
Wow, close.
Brian Collmore with 201 votes, Cheryl Hooker with 191 votes, Greg Cox with 185 votes, and Scott Guerin with 155 votes. In that, all those numbers are fairly close together, and I'll run through them again.
Yep.
James McNeil, 224, Edward Larson, 222, Brian Collmore, 201, Cheryl Hooker, 191, Greg Cox, 185, and Scott Guerin, 155. Going down to a probate judge for Wells, Carl Anderson with 252 votes, and Andrew Sam Costello with 189 votes. Again, Carl Anderson with 252, and Andrew Costello with 189.
All right. And is there a state representative race? Yes, that is the Robin Chestnut Tangerman race.
Right.
With Ed
Another
Cleveland.
close one for state rep. Robin Chestnut Tangerman is actually, let's see, second with 222, and Edgar Cleveland is 273. So let me repeat that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Edgar Cleveland, 273 votes. Robin Chestnut Tangerman, 222.
So while you're on that topic, Lisa, I want to jump over to Pollitt, Rutland Bennington District, the Rutland Bennington District Pollitt. because on that race, it's the other way around, and Robin Chestnut Tangerman has 371 votes, and Ed Cleveland 315 votes. So again, Robin Chestnut Tangerman winning in Pollitt 371 to Ed Cleveland's 315.
Wow.
And let's go back to yours, and that's
For
the town of
Wells,
Wells.
yes, that's
Reverse that.
Edgar Cleveland with 273 and Robin Chestnut Tangerman with 222.
So that's a close race, and there's still a few more towns to come in on that one.
That's
but
right.
that's see, going back and forth, it's going to be a close one.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, you're coming right in. Thank you, Tom. Tom Leopold, Executive Director here at PEGTV, is right on it with these great awards coming in. You've got more from...
I have Clarendon,
Clarendon? Okay,
right
go right
here.
ahead.
So let's see, for state senator, coming in first is Brian Collmore with 569 votes, followed by James McNeil with 529 votes, Edward Larson, 498 votes, Cheryl Hooker with 363 votes, and Scott Guerin with 238 votes. I'm going to go through that again. The first one in the lead is Brian Collmore with 569, James McNeil with 529, Edward Larson with 498, Cheryl Hooker with 363, Greg Cox with 341, and Scott Guerin with 238.
So while you're on that topic, and that was Clarendon, right?
Clarendon.
So let's jump back to Pollitt for a second on the same Senate race.
Sure.
To give folks the totals there for the Senate race. The leader in that one was actually Greg Cox with 300 and, Brian Collmore, there's one vote difference. Brian Collmore, leader in that one with 240 votes, with one vote difference. Oh, wait a minute, now I'm missed by 100. So let me back up completely. We go back to where I started. Greg Cox was 339 votes. And Ed Larson, or Scott Guerin was 200, no, let's go to Cheryl Hooker. Okay, so Greg Cox was 339 votes, Cheryl Hooker was 316 votes, Scott Guerin with 272 votes, Ed Larson with 266 votes, Brian Collmore with 240 votes. There's where I thought I was off by one, it was off by 101.
Okay.
And Jim McNeil with 229 votes. So let's do that one more time. So we start with Greg Cox with 339 votes, Cheryl Hooker with 316 votes, Scott Guerin with 272 votes, Ed Larson with 266 votes, Brian Collmore with 240 votes, and Jim McNeil with 229 votes. And that's in the town of Pollitt, Rutland County Senate race.
All right. I'm going to go to probate judge for the Clarendon, Rutland 2 area. We have Carl C. Anderson with 589 votes and Andrew Sam Costello with 355 votes. So again, Clarendon, Rutland 2 district, probate judge Carl Anderson, 589, and Andrew Costello, 355.
Okay, so let me go ahead and give you that one for Pollitt. It's Andrew Costello with 337 votes and Carl Anderson with 268 votes. That's the town of Pollitt. Andrew Costello with 337 votes and Carl Anderson with 268 votes. We have a few more towns. So do you want to keep going on that? Or do you want me to jump over to those hotly contested races over here?
Yeah,
and,
why don't you do those ones?
So that's the Pollitt. And it looks like we have Killington. We even have the Justice of the Peace in Killington. Wow. And those are the same. Let's see if we have. So we don't have those. Yeah, we don't have those. Those are all statewide. No, wait. No, here they are. Okay. So this is. So you've got Clarendon, right? Okay, that one I had. This is Killington. So let me do that state rep race because there's 3 towns up there that Jim Harrison is running in against Gina Ottoboni. Jim Harrison winning Killington 343 votes to Gina Ottoboni's 222 votes. Again, Jim Harrison, the winner in Killington, with 343 votes to Gina Ottoboni's 222 votes. That's for the Vermont State Representative seat. And the probate judge, the hotly contested, we want to continue to report on that, and then we'll jump to our senators. But Andrew Costello with 261 votes in the town of Killington, 261 votes for Andrew Costello, and Carl Anderson with 243 votes. Much closer there, but Andrew Costello 261 votes, Carl Anderson 243 votes, and again that's the probate judge race in the town of Killington. Now for the Senate seats, and I'll make sure I don't miss by 100, we have as the top seat, again, Cheryl Hooker, 254 votes for Senator Cheryl Hooker, state senator, 254 votes, Cheryl Hooker. Brian Collmore, again second with 230. Again, Brian Collmore second again with 230 votes. That's in the town of Killington. Followed by Greg Cox with 222 votes. Greg Cox third with 222 votes. Followed by Ed Larson with followed by Jim McNeil with 216 votes. Jim McNeil, 216 votes in the town of Killington. Ed Larson with 208 votes. For State Senator Ed Larson, 208 votes. And Scott Guerin last at 190 votes in the town of Killington for State Senator. So again, Cheryl Hooker leading in Killington with 254, followed by Brian Collmore with 230, followed by Greg Cox with 222, then Jim McNeil with 216, Ed Larson 208, and Scott Guerin 190. That's your Vermont State Senate race in the town of Killington.
That's great. Tom, I want to flip back to Clarendon, Rutland too for the state representative.
Okay.
So we have Dave Potter coming in first with 600 votes, followed by Thomas Burdett, 556, and then Ken Fredette with 397.
Wow.
So that's in the town, Clarendon, Rutland 2. Again, Dave Potter, 600, Tom Burdett, 556, and Ken Fredette, 397.
So it sounds like the two incumbents will be reelected there, Dave Potter and Tom Burdett. And that's a 5-town district. They have a little sliver of Timoth in there, but that's a pretty significant margin just in the one town, which is Clarendon, for the two incumbents, Tom Burdett, the Republican, and Dave Potter, the Democrat. It's a nonpartisan town. All right, so that's Killington. And I think that catches us up for the moment.
I do.
All right. Well, it's exciting, and I want to thank the clerks in these small towns that have been kind enough to send these totals in from the small towns right away. I know it's a little harder to tally there than pressing the button like it is in Rutland City, which is a pretty smooth process.
This is done, Wells. We already did that.
We did that one, okay, yep, all right.
We did that.
So let me just ask if Alan Keyes is still here from VT Digger, if he'd like to come on for a minute to give us perspective on the night's totals so far. I saw him lurking in the shadows there in our studio tonight. Alan Keyes is here with us tonight. And he's from VT Digger. He's a journalist, and they do a great job. But he's somewhere on the other side of the curtain, and we're just going to give him an open invitation to come on with us for a second and get his opinion. Alan Keyes, paging Alan Keyes. So we're going to see if we can get Alan for a minute, because I'd love to get his perspective. We did warn him in advance that we might ask him to come on the show, so he reluctantly agreed. So we're going to hold him to it now. But we do also want to thank Peter Fagan and congratulate Peter Fagan, the winner in Rutland City District 5-1, for winning tonight in his neighborhood and district for Rutland City, as well as William Knott, who just came on with us too on the program. So we got those two firsthand, which is exciting. William won pretty handily tonight in District 5-3, and, or no, I'm sorry, 5-4.
5-3.
And also, William is a Rutland City Alderman. William announced on the program tonight, here live on PEGTV, that he will be finishing the mayor's budget, which was just submitted to them on the Board of Aldermen a couple of weeks ago. Once that's wrapped up sometime in December, he will submit his letter of resignation from the Rutland City Board of Aldermen and open up that seat. Will not be running for re-election in March. So there'll be an open seat on the Board of Aldermen that was just announced here tonight by William Knott, who will be the new Rutland City State Representative from District 5-4. No, do we have a Alan Keyes in the audience still, or Alan Keyes, paging Alan Keyes? Let's see. He's having his picture taken apparently. So we're going to get him. We want to have him on video though, even better than just a picture of Alan Keyes. Is the real Alan Keyes. Alan is a former Rutland City editor of the Rutland Herald, you may recall. Great individual, a journalist now with VT Digger, and we're going to get him on with us right now to find out his impressions of what's going on with the elections statewide and that VT Digger is covering, as well as some of these local results. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Keyes. We need one of those applause buttons now. Alan, thanks for coming on the program with us. We appreciate it. And
thanks, Lisa, too.
Tonight. By the way, nobody can hear those trains behind us, but it's that blue-collar town. You know the movies have to dub that in. We get it for real here, you know?
We could market it.
We could market it. So we're just mentioning it. You're a journalist now with VT Digger. And,
I am.
You've been doing a lot of great stories, but in this night, it's all about the elections. And
certainly is.
You guys are probably following this statewide, and are you doing some national coverage too? Or?
Well, only as, I mean, the first race called around the country today was Bernie Sanders. It was called at 7 o'clock, like it wasn't even 7:01.
Wow.
So it's the first race called with 0% reporting.
Wow, is that a fact? I would have never. And by the way, I noticed this year at the party store here in Rutland, they actually had a Bernie Sanders mask.
Oh, really?
So I thought, you know, does that indicate that you've arrived finally when you earn the spot of, you know, actually having your own Halloween mask? Mm-hmm. Is that, you know, when you're really, that's when you can, I guess, win with 0% reporting in, I guess.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the voting, I saw just a sampling of voting, and it was actually not that far apart. I think because Rutland City, even the Rutland City votes for Zupan were pretty, you know, I think it was like 1,300 to 1,000, and it wasn't that far apart.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he ran a pretty good, pretty heavy campaign, a lot of television, Zupan, and so forth. So, you know, out of all the candidates, I think there was 7 or more, that, you know, he was the one who stuck out because he was, you know, doing a lot of them, getting in his face and his name out there in the media a lot. So it narrows it down when you have the ability to do that, I think. But Bernie Sanders, of course, has that cachet, and there was some criticism of him being out campaigning, you know, on the national level.
Yeah.
And missing votes, and those are the kind of things that Zupan was trying to bring up.
And not debating as well.
And not debating, yeah, exactly.
Being away from Vermont.
Yep.
But we're also tracking the races, the impact statewide of House races, because the Democrats want to have a supermajority in the House. They want to be able to sustain or to override a governor's veto. And the person you just had sitting here was a Democratic pickup tonight.
Right.
Bill Knott.
Right.
So they were at 50. The Republicans had 53 House members going into the election.
Right. And
so
83 Democrats, 53 Republicans, 7 independents, and 7 Vermont Progressive Party.
Yeah. So you know, that brings. But they lost 1 Republican seat there. So now they're down to 52.
So what is the supermajority, Alan? The number
be 49, below 49.
Uh-huh.
50 would sustain the veto.
I see.
50 or 51, actually, I'm not sure. 50 or 51.
Okay, so so that would bring it to 52, in other words, with that 1 seat, for instance.
Yep.
Getting closer to that where it can't be sustained.
Exactly.
I see.
That's a big issue across the state.
Very big.
Obviously, the governor had vetoed, I think, more than 10 bills last session.
Right. So that's a great point, because I had done a little homework before to say, okay, is either House or Senate in Vermont, like on the national level, where they are looking at potentially 23 votes changing the makeup of the House on the national level, and only a couple or 3 on the Senate side to change the game there for on the national level. On the state level, it wasn't an issue at all. This Democratic House is going to stay controlled by the Democrats with 83, and in the Senate with 21, with only 8 Republicans and 1 Vermont Progressive Party. So those weren't issues here on the local level, but I didn't think about that supermajority issue.
Yeah, it's a pretty big issue, and it's something we'll be tracking all night in House races.
Absolutely.
There are a few contested House races that could decide whether or not the Dems will have a supermajority, and one of them happened here in Rutland tonight.
Exactly.
Where a district flipped.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, with the Senate races, do you see any surprises there? I mean, that's, again, it's been a very cohesive delegation for Rutland County. I think you agree. I was mentioning that to Peter Fagan and to William Knott, that regardless of party affiliation, they do seem to put Rutland first and foremost. So, and I'm not embellishing when I say that we're the envy of the state. Everywhere I go, we talk about the Rutland delegation, and I say, well, I can talk to the Rutland delegation. They say, yes, boy, you're so lucky, they always say. And it's true. But we had... Well,
what's interesting in the race is there's 2 open seats, basically, at this point. Out of the 6 candidates are running for 3 seats.
With Kevin Mullen being out, basically, and taking over the Vermont...
Green Mountain Care Board.
Care Board, thank you.
And Dave Soucy from Killington was appointed to that position, but he didn't survive in the primary.
In the primary, right. And then Peg Flory retiring.
Exactly. So there's 2 open seats, so there's opportunity for Democrats to pick up a seat in the state Senate, which I guess hasn't happened since Bill Karras was the last Democrat.
Yeah, and he'd be a Democrat, and Cheryl Hooker being the Democrat, and had been a state senator already and a state representative, but...
and a member of the Board of Aldermen, too. I mean, she's been on the ballot a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But these other 2, well, not the rep, but the Senate race, she would have been on the ballot countywide.
Yep.
So that familiarity seems to be helping significantly, because she's really coming in with a solid vote. And of course, there's so many more towns that have to come in, but when you do take top vote getter for the city block, that's a great head start.
Yeah, it's nice to lead the city with a good sized lead.
Yeah, and that's always been an issue. I think that was an issue, and not to change the subject completely, but I want the correlation between the 2. The Lieutenant Governor, David Zuckerman, I think he has that Chittenden County base. And so Don Turner Jr., it seems, is battling an uphill battle against that. He put on a heck of a race. Yeah,
well, Milton's not that far from Chittenden County.
Yeah.
So, and he was the minority leader, so he has some name recognition.
Right. Yeah, and he just campaigned relentlessly, it seemed, at least down here, but...
Oh, he campaigned, he certainly did, and he was in Northeast Kingdom a lot. I would see him up there campaigning.
So he's getting all over there.
Yeah.
So that's why I wonder, again, in that base, that familiarity with Zuckerman and the Chittenden County base. So those Zuckerman didn't seem to be doing too bad in Rutland City either, but I didn't know if that's one of those things that, like leaving the city block ahead, in the county race, if it's the same with Chittenden County statewide.
I find the towns like Castleton and Fairhaven that are kind of mid-sized towns kind of interesting to watch how their results come in, because you can make up votes in those towns, but better than you can in a lot of the smaller ones here. So I kind of like to watch those towns. Pulteney is another one that has a good-sized number of votes that
good point.
That some people might focus on during their campaign that you might not be aware of, or or anybody might not be aware of.
So do you have a headline that you guys are anticipating for tomorrow? For tonight, really, I suppose, because you're online, and
I haven't really been following all the statewide results regarding, but I know the governor's race obviously is the big one that we're watching tonight. Yeah,
and he's going to be doing the city pretty strongly down here.
Yep.
Phil Scott. On a smaller, more parochial note, William Knott made an announcement tonight that he will not only be not running for re-election to Rutland City Board of Aldermen, and he's a past president, but also resigning from the seat after the mayor's budget's done, probably in December. So opening up a seat there that would be appointed by the mayor at that point and approved by the board.
It would only be appointed for a short period of time, right? Because then they would have to run on town meeting day.
March.
Yep, March again, right. So it'd be a couple of months. But that might be a leg up for somebody, though, because they'd be running from the seat at least. So.
You probably know this more than I do. I mean, does the mayor appoint at that point, or do they wait until?
Yeah, well, it's the mayor's prerogative, so technically I guess he wouldn't have to, but I'm sure he would. Yeah, because you want to have those 10 votes on the floor. Chair gets to break a tie, the 11th vote, so it would make 9 votes on the floor. You want a majority, it's still got to be a majority of the 11, so yeah, that would make majorities harder to achieve, so I think you would want to appoint that even for the shortest period of time. You might find it easier to get people who are willing to take the slot for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
If they weren't running for re-election.
So do you know, was Bill in the middle of a term, or was he going to be up anyway?
I think he was.
March?
That's a great question, but I think he was up on this one. So I think he was up in March. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that would be a factor, because otherwise you'd have a year and a couple of months if that were the case. Good point. You're full of good points tonight, Alan. It's like, well, we love to have you in Rutland. I just want you to know.
Oh, thanks. It's great.
We do like seeing you here. We do miss you and seeing you on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure.
But we do appreciate the coverage that you're, the lights you shine on Rutland, and you're doing a great job.
Thanks. No, it's a great place to be, and it's fun when the State House is in session to see the Rutland people up there at the State House.
Right. So vtdigger.com, right?
Mm-hmm. .org.
.org. Okay, that's why I asked. See, there was a question mark after that. I'm not an up-talker. That was actually a question. vtdigger.org. And now, are you guys on you're on all the social media too?
Yep. Actually, I tweeted out the 2 Bill Knott things that he wanted, and also that he is going to be stepping down.
Wow, look at that.
So,
all right. I just wanted to, because it was live here, we technically broke it first. I just want to say.
I credited you at
wow,
PEGTV.
Look at that. PEGTV. All right. So PEGTV is, by the way, community access television at its best. And we love delivering this news to the county and all the folks that are watching tonight. But we're very fortunate to have PEGTV, and we always want to work together with the other media. It's not being community access. There's no competition. It's really about getting the information out. And if you're able to do that, help us with that social media, we're all in favor.
Yes. I already got a few retweets, I think. So
now we want to break news about Lisa. Will you be running for Rutland City Alderman?
Yes.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah. So I'm just breaking news right and left here, Alan. So.
Think of your choice.
Yeah. So it's because you come up in March, right?
Yeah.
For Rutland City Alderman.
Yeah.
So now I actually live in Stowe now, Vermont,
okay.
and we have a really heated race there in Stowe for the House. It's a Democrat, Heidi Sherman. You probably know her.
Heidi.
Yeah, she's a Republican.
Republican, yeah.
Yep, she's up against Marina Meerberg, and it's a pretty hotly contested race up there. So a lot of people are watching that as in connection to the kind of, will a Republican House seat flip there?
Right. Yep. And Heidi even talked about at one point the idea of running for governor.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was, who knows if that was in her future. So it would certainly be more than an upset if she were to lose her seat in the House.
Yeah. There's been lots of money spent on that race. One of the candidates raised $39,000 for a House seat, and the other is over $20,000. So
wow.
That's for a House seat.
That's mind-boggling. Those are Senate numbers, and that's in the 20,000s. I've never even heard of 30,000.
It's like Chittenden County Senate numbers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just boggles my mind. And the other thing that I saw tonight was in the general election that apparently 5.5. I almost want to say, do I say $1 billion, or was it? Yeah, it'd be $1 billion spent in the general election
for
the United States.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is great for media, by the way, because media's got to sell ads, right? So
that's right.
I'm all in favor of that, but that's just a mind-boggling number to think about too.
Another interesting issue we're following at Vermont Digger tonight is Montpelier. They're voting on a big $10 million parking garage bond, which is hotly contested up there. So that's another issue that people might find of interest.
Yeah. Well, and they can work. I mean, the Rutland City one works well. If you go to the Paramount, you head right to the deck. It's the most convenient way to go to watch a show. And so, I mean, I can see certainly the pluses of them.
Certainly when I come to Rutland, I mean, that's where I park, is I park in the parking because I don't have to worry about continually coming out and putting money in a parking meter. Just park it there, forget it, and come back before, was it 11?
Yeah. So one night I did get locked out at a show at the Paramount, and this is back when they used to lock it up. And Rutland City PD actually saw me walking and pulled over and brought me home.
Oh.
Which my kids got a kick out of because they put the blue lights on when they pulled up in front of my house, and next thing you know, Dad's getting out of the police car. Nice. And I was only locked out of the garage, which I went down the next morning and picked my car up. So it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but now you can get out on your own at any time. So it's not. So they've made it functional. So it's. But I think that's an interesting referendum. But it would be a bond, so it's a yes or no. And
yep, exactly.
In Montpelier.
Yeah, it's a pretty split. Seems to be a pretty split issue. So we'll be tracking that one tonight. And it ties into a hotel that they're.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
The Hampton Inn that they want to build. A developer is seeking to build.
Wow.
There, but it needs the parking garage.
Wow.
And there's issues because it's around the river, and would it be blocking future use and access to the riverfront there?
Interesting.
So there's kind of an interesting split on what should be done there. So that's an issue we'll be following tonight.
I think Montpelier could use a Hampton Inn, so that would be popular.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the issue is where to park them. So
Right, exactly, yeah. But they're
they
the
talk
one
of
town.
satellite lots, and there's different alternatives that people have brought up.
Oh, right, okay.
In-
Yeah,
as
they have a
opposed-
lot of satellite lots now, but, yeah, we digress. But I was just going to say, also, they're the ones that had not a lot of McDonald's in at this point, right?
That's right, the one state capital without a McDonald's.
So I could see them maybe turning this down tonight, so,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a Subway though, right below where I work. So
okay.
can get a sandwich anyway.
Well, this is great. I really appreciate you coming on, Alan, and
Thanks,
spending
thanks.
time. I know we dragged you from the audience, so thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the race down here I'll be following will be the state senate race. Will be the big race. I think a lot of people are interested in how that's going to turn out because
Yeah.
it's not very often you get 2 open seats.
Right, exactly, and six good people running, and such a hotly contested race too. I mean, these folks have been just campaigning relentlessly since last summer.
Yep.
So again, kudos to all of the Senate candidates that have worked so hard to get your name on this ballot and to be contending tonight, win or lose. It's very much appreciated, and we thank you.
It does seem like the state senate races around this state have been pretty contested. Like Addison County has a big race. There they have 6 candidates, I believe. The 2 independents running,
Okay.
who have run pretty spirited campaigns and
Spirited,
raised
good word.
lots of money as well.
Right,
Spirited and
yeah.
raised money.
Well, I can see.
Raising money makes you spirited.
Yeah, well, I gotta say that I think that might be one of the headlines, is these incredible, maybe precedents, hopefully not, set with these campaign spending. Wow. I've never heard of that much money spent in a small town race.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point, does it make it, out of reach for the average citizen to be able to run,
Yeah.
That's concerning.
I guess it just shows how much value people put on these certain house
Wow,
races.
and a house race, no less. That just, can't even believe it. But, yeah, I hope that doesn't hold people back from running in the future, because, you don't want money buying elections. This is Vermont.
Certainly.
Yeah.
No, it would be interesting to see. I guess it also shows when there's open seats that people sparks lots of interest.
Right.
People wait for those open seats to
Absolutely true.
jump in
Right.
and run.
Yep, absolutely true. Yeah. Well, okay, thanks, Alan.
All right, great.
We
Thanks.
really appreciate it. Taking
Thanks.
all the time and
see
putting
you.
you
Thanks,
on
Lisa.
in the spotlight there. How do you like these new spotlights they have for PEGTV? This is
Spectacular.
isn't it a fantastic studio?
Yes. Well, great.
So-
Well, I look forward to watching the results come in.
And I look forward to looking on vtdigger.org to catch those headlines.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Tom.
Thanks, Alan.
Lisa.
Bye, Alan.
Alan
Take
Keyes,
care.
journalist with vtdigger.org, and very gracious of him, very gracious of Alan Keyes to come on I did mention to him earlier that we might ask him to come on, and he reluctantly said yes, but very gracious of Alan to come on and give us some perspective on what VT Digger is looking into tonight as far as issues statewide. And one of which is just that spending in Stowe in the House race, which is just tens of thousands of dollars being spent because there is this issue about the supermajority being lost by the Republicans in the House, Vermont House. Well, they would not lose the Democrats would not lose the control of the House by any stretch, but there is that margin, which is the 50-vote margin to override vetoes. So it's a very significant issue in Vermont, and that might be decided by some of these House races. And Rutland's already made the news by electing a new Democrat to the House tonight, William Knott, in District 5-4. Rutland City is now a Rutland City State Representative-elect, William Knott.
All right, we have Danby in for the state senate, so I'm going to get to that. In first place, it looks like we have Brian Collmore with 239, followed by James McNeil with 228, Ed Larson with 224, Cheryl Hooker with 220, Greg Cox with 189, and Scott Guerin with 153. So again, this is for Danby State Senate, first being Brian Collmore, second James McNeil, third Ed Larson, fourth Cheryl Hooker, fifth Greg Cox, and sixth Scott Guerin.
Now, is there a House district in that? No, okay.
Oh wait, there's, if you were looking for
Oh, the
US,
national, yes,
but,
U.S., yeah,
yeah.
okay. And I was also going to ask PEGTV, here's my wide shot, there it is, if we had a scroll tonight that was going to be putting the results on. I'm just saying that because they have my voice in their ears right now. So I was just going to mention and ask if there was going to be a scroll with these totals, because I understand that the parties are starting to get loud out there. Congratulations to those that are celebrating tonight at parties. And thanks for tuning in and watching us. But I understand how hard it gets to hear us at some point in the evening, which if you're at one of those parties is a good thing. And so I know that we were talking about having a scroll on the screen possibly with the results so you could read them as well as hearing us, or if you can't hear us, you can read them. So the other thing I wanted to mention, again, it's on the screen, but polling with PEGTV, if you're at those parties and you want to send us a photo, just Facebook it on your Facebook page and just do the hashtag polling with PEGTV, and it'll come up on our screen and we'll put it up on your screen. How's that? So polling with PEGTV, the hashtag, and show us your party pictures right now and some of those celebrations. Right now you have one, I know, from Chelsea, right? Go ahead and describe that, Lisa.
Yes, I just sent one in. We have one with Chelsea Tice, who works here at PEGTV. You can see on the screen with her husband and son saying, "We voted." If you live in Rutland County and voted, snap a selfie and use polling with PEGTV.
And was there, who else did we have? I think Avaloy had sent us one earlier, didn't she?
Let me check who's next. No.
Well, Pam Shambo was down voting earlier today and did the selfie. Who is that?
That's
Lisa?
Me. My dad's name in honor of a veteran. So again,
nice.
I voted early this morning.
What
right
a great
before
honor.
work.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank
well
you.
Done. Well done. Oh, yours truly. Of course, that was yesterday. I voted early. I've got my sticker on right now. I voted early. And that was great at City Hall. I'm in 5-1, Peter Fagan's district. But I went to Rutland City Hall because I was out of town this morning and I wanted to make sure I'd be back in time. So that was very convenient at Rutland City Hall. They did a great job in the clerk's office getting me in and out of there. Got that signed and sealed and hashtagged. Gail Townsend Lang and Binks up there.
Mr. Banks.
And then I thought I saw one earlier. There's Gail pointing to the I voted, but Binks was not in the polling booth at the time because he would just knock everything over. And I know Avaloy Lanning sent us one. I don't know if it's up there or not. She was in the booth earlier and was kind enough to send hers. Is there one that says more? Seymour? Anywhere on there? Down at the bottom, maybe? I don't see Avaloy's.
No,
She's the executive director at New Story Center. One of our colleagues does a great job over there. And I know I saw her in the booth voting, and she had tagged polling with PEGTV as well.
Yeah, I might have to reload.
Refresh or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So they just handed me some totals here from, this is Wallingford, with 921 ballots counted. Wow. Total registered voters there, 1,579. So they had a total number of voters checked off the list, 922. There's one defective ballot. So there's 921. And let's cut to the chase here with our local races. Let's see. So state representative, let's start there because you had Tom Burdett, the Republican incumbent running in that district also. That was one of those 5 I mentioned. And Dave Potter, also incumbent Democrat, and then Ken Fredette. So in that case, in this town, this is Wallingford, Ken Fredette actually was the top vote getter in Wallingford with 552 votes. Ken Fredette winning in the town of Wallingford handily with 552 votes for Ken Fredette, followed by incumbent Democrat Dave Potter with 489 votes. Dave Potter, 489 votes in the town of Wallingford. Followed third, there's 2 seats open. So Tom Burdett came in third there, the Republican. Tom is from West Rutland with 400 votes. Tom Burdett, 400 votes. So it's Ken Fredette, 582. Dave Potter, 489, and Tom Burdett, 400. That's the town of Wallingford. Probate judge, Sam Costello, again, actually Carl Anderson winning in the town of Wallingford. Carl Anderson with 452 votes. 452 votes for Carl Anderson, the Republican, Rutland Town resident. This is the town of Wallingford, followed by Andrew Costello, Rutland City resident, Democrat, with 384 votes. So it's Anderson 452, Costello 384, and that's the town of Wallingford. So it's a little bit different in that town. And then the Senate race. And we'll start with, make sure I have the highest vote here, is in fact Cheryl Hooker again, 439 votes, Cheryl Hooker. Rutland City resident, both has the Democratic and the Progressive nod on the ballot. 439 votes, top vote getter in Wallingford for Cheryl Hooker. Followed by, again, Brian Collmore, followed by Brian Collmore with 419 votes. And third is, looks like pretty handily, Greg Cox with 400 votes. Greg Cox from West Rutland getting 400 votes in the town of Wallingford. So right now, the top three, Cheryl Hooker with 439, Brian Collmore with 419, and Greg Cox 400. Followed next by Ed Larson with 379 votes. Ed Larson fourth with 379 votes. Jim McNeil fifth with 370 votes in the town of Wallingford. Jim McNeil, 370 votes. And Scott Guerin with 351 votes. So that would be Cheryl Hooker, Brian Collmore, Greg Cox, Ed Larson, Jim McNeil, and Scott Guerin in that order. That's the town of Wallingford.
Yeah, I just got a second copy of that, so.
Oh, okay.
Same.
Nothing new,
I
Lisa.
don't think so.
All right. If we have anything breaking, I'm going to cut away.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking to see, for instance, the lieutenant governor race, and I keep referring back to this one just because Don Turner Jr. was down here a lot. This is the town of Wallingford. Don Turner Jr. with 436 votes. Current Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman, 451 votes. 451 votes for Zuckerman. Don Turner Jr., 436 votes for the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Vermont in Wallingford. So actually pretty close there. Let's see who else we have of... we might as well just report on the governor's race, just because it's of interest. Christine Hallquist certainly put up a great race. But right now, at least in the town of Wallingford, almost 2-to-1, 555 votes for Phil Scott, the current governor of the state of Vermont, Phil Scott, Republican, getting 555 votes in the town of Wallingford to Christine Hallquist's 274 votes. 274 votes for Christine Hallquist. Now, Lisa, you and I both met with Christine Hallquist recently.
Yeah.
Spent about a little over an hour with her, and she was down in Rutland and wanted to meet with us. Certainly was an interesting candidate, seemed to have a pretty good handle on the issues, certainly a good handle on Vermont.
Yeah.
I think that the advantage went to Phil Scott after that meeting, listening to Christine, and I think it was really about the experience as the governor. She's a relative newcomer in this field.
Right.
Certainly has learned a lot probably on the campaign trail and certainly worked really hard.
She did work very hard, yeah. That was definitely apparent in our conversation with her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
clearly laid out her goals and what she had planned for the state of Vermont.
Right, exactly. And the only difference really that was clear, I think, was that level of experience when you're in the governor's seat and you can speak from there.
Right.
You have that advantage. Phil Scott, of course, was also our lieutenant governor for, I want to say, 3 terms prior to becoming governor, and then another 10 years in the Vermont State Senate
Right.
before becoming lieutenant governor. So a lot of experience there when you're debating, when you're talking about issues, and on the campaign trail.
Right.
And I think that's coming through here in the vote results, it appears. Anything else new there, Lisa?
No, it's the same copy.
Should we bring Alan Keyes back, or?
Oh, Rose Kennedy in the audience
Rose
here.
Kennedy's here.
Yeah.
Would Rose Kennedy come on the program with us right now? Because I think
what she gets.
Rose Kennedy actually was up for election tonight. I do believe she was unopposed, but nevertheless, our state's attorney.
Numbers in
Yeah.
yet? I haven't
Oh, we have a whole
Oh,
bunch
we've
of
got
numbers here.
numbers.
I think you did pretty well. So congratulations on your
Thank you.
re-election.
Congratulations, Rose. Hi.
State's Attorney here in Rutland
Lisa
County.
saw me shivering in the cold and invited me to come
I
tonight.
did.
So when Lisa says come, I come.
Well, listen, since you're out there shivering in the cold, and I know you're running for State's Attorney in re-election, this was your first re-election, actually.
It is.
But I know that you probably heard about all kinds of issues. Can you share those with us a little bit, what you were hearing? Is there any theme, concerns,
So
issues?
I was telling another reporter today that generally speaking, when I go grocery shopping, it takes about an extra hour and a half for me to do what I need to do because people
Understood.
feel pretty comfortable stopping me in the aisles and asking me lots of questions and sharing their thoughts. So
Right.
I wasn't hearing anything really new today.
Got
I
it.
think, kids' safety, opioid addiction, burglaries, these are all sort of things that people talk to me, domestic assault. So I think I have a pretty good grasp of what people are thinking about, and I think I'm pretty accessible to the community, so
Right.
nothing really new, but I wanted to be out there in case there was, and if anybody
Yeah.
didn't really recognize me today, I had a sign in front of my face so that they could
that's
clearly
great.
understand who I was, and if they had anything that they wanted to raise with me, they could. But I wasn't really hearing anything too new.
That you haven't heard in the grocery store and
That's
everywhere
right.
else. And to your credit, one of the reasons that you're able to say that is because you are out and about. And that's really important. This is a local, Vermont's all local, really.
Right.
Rutland County is very local. And for you to be accessible, to be out there in the public like that, I think is a real plus.
Right. I
For
mean,
us.
this is my community too. So and this is where I'm raising my kids. So obviously I care about it and want to hear what people have to say. I care about other people's kids. So nothing new. It was a good turnout. It was steady all day long.
Huge, right?
Huge,
Yes,
which was
yep.
really exciting.
It is exciting.
Even when it started pouring rain, people were still flocking. So that was
the
really
weather
great.
was awful
It
for
was
election
really
day.
bad.
Right, exactly.
It's really
Some of the
cold.
worst, and the only thing that gets worse is when you're running for office in March, and we've all been there and have
Right.
to stand in snowstorms and blizzards, so.
I
you know.
haven't had to do that, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I tell you
Yeah.
one thing though, the difference in the ability to vote early.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And so back when I first started running, back in 84, sorry, so
That's okay.
dating myself terribly, is that the early voting, you actually had to justify why you couldn't vote.
Right.
So you had to literally be maybe a doctor's note kind of a thing. I mean,
Airplane ticket.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, literally show that I am not going to be here. I'm drafted. I'm literally going to be having an operation that week, whatever it might be. I agree with the way it's being done now because now you can say I'm not sure if I'm going to be in town, and I do want that right to vote.
Right.
And just in case, and I did this yesterday myself, got my little sticker
See
there.
that?
I did it because I was out of town this morning and I wanted, all I could imagine is the car breaks down and all of a sudden I can't get to the polls.
Right.
And I would never want that to happen. I vote in every election, almost literally since I was 18. So I think I missed one when I was at Linden State College.
Okay.
And I didn't come home for the week. And back then, I'm not going to say what year that was, you couldn't early vote.
Right.
Or you could, but you had to have a big reason why. So I think it really works. And I
Good.
think it helps on days like today. If you know the weather's going to be miserable and you don't want to go out in it, you can go to your clerks and vote early.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tremendous change, and I think it makes it a lot more interactive now with all voters because you don't have to be sick, literally, to get an absentee ballot. Everybody can vote early.
Right.
And I think that's going to encourage a lot more involvement in future elections, and today might be a great reflection of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
very exciting.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So
Happy
Lisa,
to have
I
you.
haven't heard any numbers, so
well, you definitely.
You got the
there could be a
numbers.
lot of write-ins.
Well, let's see if we can. So let's give her some numbers.
All right.
Yeah, make
Since
me
we have
feel
Rose
good.
right on
All
the
right,
show here,
okay, so
we've got
let's-
some here.
I'm going to go Clarendon, Rutland 2 District.
There you go.
Rose Kennedy, 823 votes.
Look at that.
And you have to, for 180, what is
I'm not
sure what that means.
sure what that means.
B 180.
Right, 23 write-ins. It
Yeah.
looks like.
All right.
Whoever,
So that's a pretty significant
whoever that
margin.
is.
So let's find a Rutland City district because these will be huge. We'll have some fun with this. So let's see. Just take a second here. Be the last page, of course. And it is. So here's Calvary Church District 5-4, for instance. Rose Kennedy, running, by the way, endorsed as Republican and Democratic candidate, got the nod during the primary from both parties. 1,103 just in Calvary Bible Church. Pretty good.
All right.
1,103. That's that one district. In Christ the King, 1,180.
All right.
In Christ, wait a minute, that's Christ the King, 5-2 Southeast. No, that's not the one. Oh, sorry, that's the same. That's Larry Coopoli, sorry.
All right.
Our good friend Larry Coopoli. 1,206 votes for Larry Coopoli.
Okay, good job, Larry.
Let's see, so if I've got, so that's Christ the King, that's Calvary. American Legion. Let's go with that one next. Mary Howard, who's on my board of directors at Brock Community Action, by the way, 707 votes and not contested. 792 votes for Rose Kennedy,
All right.
Rutland County State's Attorney. And then we should have one.
I have Wells here. I'd like to know.
Sure.
Rutland Pennington. Rose with 428.
Wow.
No write-in.
Yeah.
Write-in, so.
So yeah, that's going to end up being in the thousands and thousands of votes and when it's all told. So.
Well, it's an honor being the Rutland County State's Attorney. I look forward to continuing what we've been doing for the last 4 years, continuing it tomorrow and beyond. So again, thank you, Rutland County. I know I look a little disheveled because
Well,
I've been out in the rain all day.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning, because the others have said the same thing, and Peter Fagan had just come in, and he
Right.
said, I've got hat hair, he says.
I know. I didn't quite realize just how bad I looked until I looked. But
Well, in fairness,
You
I mean,
look
the
fine.
weather is miserable, and you were out there, so,
Right,
we
right.
appreciate it. Now, let me ask you, is that a 4-year term?
it is a 4-year term.
4-year, okay,
Yep.
so that we didn't
awesome.
duck about, yeah,
Very
so that's
exciting.
very interesting. So
Yeah.
it's been 4 years you've been in
It has been 4 years.
Wow,
Yep.
that went by
Well, I
fast.
mean, almost 4 years.
Yeah.
February will be 4.
Gosh, that went by fast.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, not for you, I'm sure.
Some days.
Well, and to your credit, I mean, obviously, you're doing,
Good
I mean,
job.
I always look at it as a reflection of sometimes that if you don't have opposition, that you're doing a good job and that you are getting out there and talking to the people and that they're, reflecting that in.
I
by
hope so. I
reinstating
hope
you,
that's
so,
what this means.
Yeah, awesome.
But it's a good job. I love it, and I like advocating for Rutland County.
We're lucky to
Nice
have
seeing you.
Congratulations again. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Rose.
Thanks for-
Appreciate you
Have
having
fun.
us. All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Very good. Rose Kennedy, who is just re-elected to Rutland County State's Attorney
Yes.
for a 4-year term, which I just caught on to, and I wasn't thinking that originally because so many of these terms are 2 years, but that's a 4-year term. So
Right.
already since her first election, and this was her first re-election to the office of Rutland County State's Attorney, it's already been nearly 4 years, and this February it'll be coming up. So that's
On for
pretty
another
amazing.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, we did have a viewer request to update on the sheriff and high bailiff, so.
Yep, sure,
I'm
we can do
gonna,
that.
Start here.
I'll grab the city results.
With Wells, the Rutland Bennington District. Sheriff, we have Stephen Bernard with 281 votes and Scott Goodhue with 167. Stephen Bernard, 281. Scott Goodhue, 167. That's for the town of Wells. For Clarendon, the Rutland 2 District, sheriffs, we have Stephen Bernard with 785 votes. 785 votes. Scott Goodhue with 172.
At least I've got one here, for instance, with Christ the King, District 5-2 for sheriff.
Sure.
Just to give you the size of the Rutland City margin, it was Steve Bernard 969 votes to Scott Goodhue's 310 votes. So almost a 3-to-1 margin for county sheriff for Steve Bernard, 969 to Scott Goodhue's 310. And one ward in the city, Christ the King, District 5-2.
Looking at Wallingford, District Rutland 2, for sheriff, we have Stephen Bernard with 644 votes, Scott Goodhue with 170. So it's Stephen Bernard, 644, and Scott Goodhue, 170.
I've got over here Rutland County Sheriff in Calvary Church, District 5-4 in Rutland City, District 5-4 Rutland City for Rutland County Sheriff Steve Bernard, 910 votes. 910 votes to Scott Goodhue's 289 votes. So again, better than a 3-to-1 margin for Steve Bernard for Rutland County Sheriff in Calvary Church District 5-4, Northwest District in Rutland City. Steve Bernard, 910, Scott Goodhue, 289. So as you can see, it's about a 3-to-1 margin,
Yes.
it seems, for Steve Bernard. So the sheriff has been reelected. Those are 2-year seats. And Steve Bernard's been sheriff for some time now. He was appointed originally, I almost want to say Governor Douglas, I believe. Yeah, if I recall. And then has run every 2 years since for re-election. So
I can go into high bailiff if you'd like.
Sure.
That was another viewer request. So for the Clarendon-Rutland 2 district, for high bailiff, we have David Fox with 746 votes, William Chief Humphreys with 165. That's David Fox, 746, Chief Humphreys, 165. That is in the town of Clarendon. And now going back to Wells, that Rutland-Bennington district, high bailiff, we have David Fox with 237 votes and William Humphreys with 223. David Fox, 237, William Humphreys, 223. See, that was pretty close.
yeah, and then in Rutland City, it was very similar to the sheriff's. Actually, David Fox, 885 votes in Christ the King. David Fox, 885 votes. William Humphreys, 312 votes. And then that's for high bailiff. And again, David Fox, Republican and Democratic nod in the primary for high bailiff, 819 votes in Rutland City. Northwest District, 819 votes for David Fox. William Humphreys, 316 votes. 316 votes. That's Northwest and Southeast. So 885 to 312 and 819 to 316 in favor of David Fox for high bailiff.
In Wallingford, you didn't do that one, did you?
I don't.
No, we have Clarendon, Wells, and Wallingford, high bailiff. We have David Fox with 651 votes and William Humphreys with 141. This is in Wallingford. David Fox, 651. Chief Humphreys, 141.
All right. So at this point, I want to take a moment to go over that thank you list again, because we have this great team who's been working on this production of Community Access Television. It's not only identified some winners tonight already, and House races in particular in the city of Rutland, but also some breaking news about aldermanic changes and so forth. So it's very exciting to have this kind of news breaking for all of our viewers on Comcast 21 and those watching on PEGTV.com live streaming. Welcome and thank you for watching tonight as we present this information to you county-wide as the towns slowly come in. Not because they're slow, but because they're making sure it's accurate, and it's hard work for all these clerks. And throughout the counties, they do a lot of work, and the turnouts, as I understand, have been huge. A word that Rose Kennedy just used too. Huge turnouts at the polling places today. So that makes the vote counting even more difficult to make sure that they get it accurate and accomplished. And then it comes to us. So we want to thank them all very much for getting that to us tonight, and the clerks around the county. Also want to thank Lisa, of course, our co-host right here, and Tom Leipold, executive director here at PEG TV and leader, as well as Nancy Donahue, Bryn Doan, Chelsea Tice, who is, by the way, the program director here for this channel, PEG TV Channel 21, the government channel, Amber Dumas, Daniel, and I want to, is it Alcorn? Daniel, somebody's got to tell me Daniel's last name. I'm pretty sure it's Alcorn, but I'm just, but they'll correct me now. It's in their ear, and they'll correct me and tell me, because they put A-L and then stopped. It's got interrupted Daniel, somewhere along there.
Yeah.
Poor Daniel. And Daniel does a great job here, too. We love Daniel, but we just got to confirm his last name. Missy Delahanty, well known, and of course Michelle Leonard as well, all taking numbers tonight from the clerks and behind the scenes and getting tabulations done and running the control room and so on and so forth. And plus a lot of preparation. These kits I had tonight that I was reading from initially before things got rolling, all the towns and all the races and all the towns was put together by the team here, and Chelsea Tice leading that. So
Yeah, it was great to
some
have.
tremendous work by these folks. We're so fortunate to have PEGTV in our community, one of the best, if not the best, in the state of Vermont, in my opinion, in community access. So
I'm very lucky.
yeah, and we thank you all for tuning in. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter as well. So right, and Instagram. Instagram too. So we were talking about the races that are happening throughout the state. And some of those do have an impact statewide. And we were just talking with Alan Keyes from VT Digger, who was mentioning that they're watching the House race in the state House of Representatives, the Vermont State House of Representatives, because the Democrats control the House with, if I have my other numbers that I had when I was talking to Alan. I've already buried them here somewhere. Here they are. 83 seats in the House, Democratic majority there, 53 Republicans, 7 independents, and 7 Vermont Progressive Party, for a total of 150 seats in the House of Representatives in the state of Vermont. But they used to have what they call the Democratic trifecta, which was including the governor, who was Democratic when Peter Shumlin was there. So you had a democratically controlled House, Senate, and governor's office. Now that's been changed. No more trifecta with the what appears to be Governor Scott going to another re-election. It appears at this point that he'll be re-elected. But that there's this issue with the Republicans only having 53 seats in the House, and that if they lose that majority, supermajority is required for overriding vetoes. So if the Republicans lose a few seats in the House, the Democrats could actually override vetoes, something that Governor Scott did a lot. Alan Keyes was mentioning maybe as many as 10 times last legislative session. So that is a big issue in the Vermont state races, as it turns out. And Rutland is making the news, one seat changing there with the election of William Knott, Rutland City Alderman, becoming a Democratic state representative elect now from District 5-4 in Rutland City, and contributing towards this change in the Democratic majority there, supermajority that they're looking for in the Vermont State House. So turns out to be a big deal.
Exciting, it is.
And then, of course, the Senate race, which is another 30 seats, and that is not going to change the makeup of the Senate whatsoever, in that there's already 21 Democrats out of those 30, only 8 Republicans and 1 Vermont Progressive Party candidate, for a total of 30 in the Senate in Rutland, in Vermont, I should say. On the national level, it's a whole different story, and we haven't been able to follow that yet tonight. But so, Lisa, when you're campaigning for Alderwoman, and you'll be out there again campaigning soon.
March.
Yeah, well, probably right after Christmas, probably, right?
Yeah.
But you're, as Rose Kennedy had mentioned, when you're out in the grocery stores and so forth, I'm sure that you're very recognizable and that you're on television, community access.
Yeah.
Every other Monday. Are people stopping you and bringing up issues? And one I heard both Peter and William mention is sidewalks.
Yeah. I would have to agree with both Peter and Will in that a lot of it is asking about sidewalk updates. Potholes is a huge one. Some of our main Route 7 and Route 4s, the paving, which sometimes we have a say in that at the city level, and a lot of the times it's at the state level. So people don't always know that when they're asking the questions. So that's what I try to best inform them with. But it's definitely those are the top ones: the potholes, the paving, and the sidewalks.
And then most recently, of course, with economic development occurring, particularly around retail, there was issues that was back and forth for a little while on the creation of a $3 million Starbucks at the corner of Route 4 and 7.
Right.
And then Five Guys.
Five Guys as well.
Where the mobile station was on the corner of 7 and 7B.
Right.
And 4. Right. So. And that's got a lot of people talking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from, at least my standpoint on it. I think anything to bring into the city that's going to, heighten the economic drive and ability for folks, whether passing through or who live here, that it can only be a benefit for the city to have those establishments and make our city, more diverse in that way.
Well, they're probably passing through to Killington a lot of the time.
Exactly.
It'd be good to keep them right here in the city.
Yeah,
and
so they go to Burlington to next Starbucks stop, I believe, is Manchester. So
yes, it
they've
is.
got
And
one
then
in the
Bennington
middle.
after that, they
Yeah.
have one at the Price Chopper.
Yeah.
I know where all the Starbucks are. So it's like, and also this, what Alan had brought up, I think it was, we were talking about jobs too, and the types of jobs, and actually having career job opportunities, trades. Thank you, Bryn. Is this, Bryn just brought, Brindone, thank you very much, just brought in Mendon, so we'll get back to that thought.
Okay.
But let's see, so this one is a very interesting one because we had, that is one of the towns along with Killington and Bridgewater that has the state representative elected. So Jim Harrison wins that handily with 325 votes. Jim Harrison, who is the incumbent state representative from Chittenden, and Gina Audubani, 215 votes, the Democrat. Gina Audubani, 215 votes to Jim Harrison's 325 for state representative in the town of Mendon. So that's Mendon, Killington, and Bridgewater for that one. But it looks like Jim Harrison will be re-elected to his seat in the state house. And congratulations to Jim. He campaigned very hard. Another one you saw a lot of. So let's cut to the, well, we'll do the probate judge real quick because it's a quick one. Is Carl Anderson winning in Mendon? Carl Anderson, 297 votes for Carl Anderson, and Andrew Costello with 219 votes.
Close.
So Carl Anderson, 297. Andrew Costello, 219, and that's in the town of Mendon, goes to Carl Anderson. Now we'll go to the Senate race in Mendon. And in this case, the top vote getter was actually Brian Collmore. So Brian Collmore, the top vote getter in the town of Mendon, with 282 votes for Brian Collmore, the incumbent Republican. And then looks like Jim McNeil actually came in second in this one. 268 votes for Jim McNeil for state senator, Republican newcomer to the Senate race, was formerly a House member. Jim McNeil, 268 votes for second. In third would be Ed Larson, former Rutland City Alderman, Rutland City Police Officer. Ed Larson, 245 votes, third place in the town of Mendon to Ed Larson with 245 votes. Cheryl Hooker then coming in fourth just after that with 218 votes for Cheryl Hooker, the Democrat, former House and Senate member. Cheryl Hooker, 218 votes. Followed by Greg Cox with the fifth seat there. Greg Cox, 213 votes for Greg Cox, and Scott Guerin with 155. So it would go Brian Collmore, Jim McNeil, Ed Larson, Cheryl Hooker, Greg Cox, and Scott Guerin in the Senate race in the town of Mendon. Since there was somebody interested in the sheriff's race, we will mention that one. Steve Bernard with 346 votes for Rutland County Sheriff, and Scott Goodhue with 142 votes. So Steve Bernard continues to lead handily for re-election for another term as Rutland County Sheriff. Since we're on that, we'll mention David Fox, 332 votes, and William Chief Humphreys, 127. Dave Fox, 332. William Humphrey, 127. That's again in the town of Mendon. Let's see if there was any other. Well, I think we should report the lieutenant governor because again that one was close. This time Don Turner Jr. in the town of Mendon winning the town of Mendon at 278 votes for lieutenant governor in the state of Vermont. Don Turner Jr. 278 votes to David Zuckerman's 265 votes. The current Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman, 265 votes. Don Turner, 278 votes in the town of Mendon. Governor, very similar with Phil Scott looking like he's handily being reelected to governor of the state of Vermont with 374 votes in the town of Mendon. 374 votes, Phil Scott to Christine Halquest's 154 votes. Christine Hillquist 154 votes to Phil Scott's 374 votes in the town of Mendon. See if there's any other particular ones. In case Rose Kennedy is still listening in. She was unopposed, but received 446 votes in the town of Mendon. Rose Kennedy, the Rutland County State's Attorney, 4-year term. She had both the Democratic and the Republican nod in the primary and gets that dual recognition on the general election ballot. 446 votes for State's Attorney. And some of these are uncontested, so we're not reading them. In other words, there might be even 2 people running, but 2 seats, so they're just elected virtually by getting their name on the ballot. Just for the fun of it, in the town of Mendon, I'm going to announce that it looks like by 1 vote, Rich Carlson was the top vote getter in the town of Mendon for Justice of the Peace. How about that? Rich Carlson with 347 votes for Justice of the Peace in the town of Mendon. Just edging out Ann Singeiser, who actually is elected because they elect 7.
Oh.
But he edged her out for the top vote getter by 1 vote, 346. So see, your vote does count.
It really does.
At least for that, bragging rights of being the top vote getter, right? Justice of the Peace, Rich Carlson, 347 votes, Ann Singeiser, 346 votes. And then you actually had tie votes for 3rd and 4th with Marie Conway, 338 votes, and Lindsay McQuaig, I'm going to say. But I'm probably not even close, and I apologize to Lindsay. 338 votes there also. And then 328 votes for Al Wakefield, an old friend, Al Wakefield, Democrat running for Justice of the Peace in the town of Mendon, 328 votes, and followed by Betsy Reddy at 322 votes, beating her husband, Jim Reddy, with 303 votes. So Betsy, you are more popular than Jim by 17 votes, it looks like. No, actually, that would be 19 votes. 19 votes more popular than her husband, Jim and Betsy Reddy, for Justice of the Peace in the town of Mendon. Now, let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there was 7 slots and 7 nominations. So you're all elected. Congratulations. So anyway, as we were talking about, Lisa, for a moment there with you and the Rutland City issues, we were talking about jobs, and one of the things I know, I think it was Peter, it might have been, sorry, because it might have been William. Yeah, it was William.
Well, with the trade
right,
jobs.
with his son just going into college, talking about trades as well. And of course, we have the Stafford Technical Center in Rutland, which is very fortunate for us.
Right.
Do you think that those are the kind of things that folks are looking to go into, and does Rutland have an advantage for those career
Yeah, I certainly think
jobs?
that those types of trade jobs are maybe underutilized, because I think a lot of times you're as a student and approaching graduation, you think about, like Will talked about, having to go to college, like as in that's what you're supposed to do, but that isn't the same for everybody.
Right.
We have, like you said, Stafford Tech, we have
Right.
VT Tech, we've got
Right.
a lot of really great trade schools that across the board, from cosmetology to
True.
culinary, welding. So and the jobs are out there, like Will was saying, for plumbing
Sure.
and things like that. And if anything, that would keep people here, to whether just to work and raise their families, or
Right.
at least to come back to. So
Right.
I think it's a good opportunity that is often a little underutilized, and it definitely could be more acknowledged, and I think really instilled that it's okay to do that.
Right, agreed. And I think we talked about Rutland is, typically when they marketed, we're talking about the opportunity to ski here and snowboard, and of course the bucolic setting and so forth, and all that is absolutely true.
It is.
one thing that I talk a lot about right now is when you turn on the late news and you see the natural disasters happening all over the country, Vermont is an incredibly safe place.
It is.
From Mother Nature.
Right, and
really.
we're very
You know,
lucky.
we had Hurricane Irene, unfortunately, and that was terrible and brutal for us. I like to think that was the exception to the rule, that's a maybe once in a lifetime type of event. We've had some storms similar to that, but
Right.
generally what other places in the United States are experiencing from Mother Nature
Yeah.
that are causing some horrific disasters in their communities, Rutland and Vermont, seems to be one of, not only crime rate wise, but natural disaster wise, one of the safest places to live in the country.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we have a significant opportunity to remind people who might want to come here and move here for a career, because
Right.
it's safe in more ways than one.
Right, and speaking geographically, like we are, a flight to Boston or a 3-hour drive. We've got the Amtrak to New York,
Right.
Quick trip to Burlington, even Montreal. So even within, the realm of Vermont, we have all these great surrounding cities and states that
Right.
offer a lot more, but we can kind of bounce back on and be able
Well,
to
you're
create
right.
that dynamic.
To that point, even we'll have the train connecting to Burlington before too long.
Yes.
And we already also have a bus system that connects Boston and New York
That's
City
right.
every day from Rutland as well. So
Right.
it's train, planes, and automobiles.
Yeah,
and,
whether it's baseball or football or what, you can get down there pretty easily.
Broadway show. Yeah, what do I
Broadway.
mention? Yeah, Broadway
Dance.
show. Right. Speaking for somebody who was just on the stage of the Paramount with Dancing with the Rutland Stars.
Yes.
And so I bet you're glad to get that over with.
It was a very long journey, but probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever participated in, and I feel very lucky to have been chosen. And I had a great partner. Adam King was amazing, and I had a great team of support.
We raised tens of thousands of dollars for. It started out very focused on just pediatric rehabilitation at the Kids on the Move program,
Right.
and it's now pediatric equipment and
Yes.
some important things that are getting accomplished with
Yeah.
that fundraiser. An awful lot of fun
It was
happening.
really fun, yeah.
I'm glad I get to be in the audience now, but I have to say that it's this year was another step up in that you invested in stage sets
Yeah,
and so forth.
the props and
More
things
than
like
people
that.
behind you, it was the stage.
Yeah, and a lot of
Just
people got
amazing.
really creative. It was
They
really
sure did.
cool. It was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So congratulations on that
Thank you,
milestone.
I
and
appreciate
now
it.
having that in your
Yeah.
rearview mirror, because
Yeah.
that was one that everybody who gets chosen for that dreads for a little while when you're
It's a
not the
long-
star but the star, not the pro.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It was a long
Pros
summer.
do it as a hobby, right? And a job sometimes.
Year
their
after year,
careers.
and I don't know how.
And for us, it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but the fundraiser is so important, and everybody eventually says,
I couldn't say
"Yes, I'll
no,
do it."
so,
Yeah,
yeah, it's great.
No, it was fun watching you.
Thank
we,
you.
We appreciate all you've done in the community,
and-
not just serving on the board of aldermen, but literally getting out there in the community, like we talked about with Rose Kennedy. Being accessible and being
Yeah.
visible and
thank
being
you.
very active. It means a lot to those to have their political leaders, being out in where you really can communicate
Right.
personally with them.
Yeah.
And, not
yeah,
just
that,
by letter.
that really genuine humane connection is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you.
And I'm glad that you're running for re-election.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Rutland City Alderman. Appelt. Thank you, Brindone. So it's Daniel, but Appelt is how you say his last name. And for some reason we got the A and that looks almost like the beginning of an L there. Yeah, so, and I don't know why I couldn't remember his last name, but Daniel Appelt has done a lot of work on this program tonight, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, we're going to be considering wrapping up because we have these results now starting to trickle in, and they may be trickling in for the rest of the evening, and some may not even end up getting done tonight, unfortunately. So, but PEGTV has got the scroll on the bottom of the screen and is going to be scrolling the results tonight, so you can keep track of those. And we really appreciate everybody tuning in and watching us here at PEGTV. They do an amazing job on this election night coverage. We hope that we've been able to give you some pretty decent results early, followed up by, of course, the later results in the smaller towns that came in, and hope you're able to piece together tonight's puzzle of who's been elected. Congratulations to all those that have been elected to office here in Rutland County and statewide. Congratulations to all those that ran, because it's a hard thing to do to put your name on the ballot. And thanks to all this amazing staff at PEGTV. We're fortunate to have this asset in Rutland County as well. So,
yeah. Thank you, Tom, for
all right,
having me again.
So I want to say thank you very much to Lisa Ryan, co-host here at this live election night coverage. And hopefully, even though she's on the ballot in March, hopefully we can get her back. And then we'll tell you right on the live and if you've been reelected Rutland City Alderman. So at this point in the evening, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off. Let the scroll talk for us as they put the final results through the. And those in your louder parties right now can read them and jot them down. But for PEGTV, live election night coverage, Channel 21, I'm Tom Donahue, or Lisa Ryan. Thanks for watching, and see the final results bright and early tomorrow morning.
Thank you.